Welcome to a bit of bonus basement. If you've been seeing the previous video, you will have seen me talk about the Flash at length at incredible speed. If you want to see it in normal speed, it's going to be happening right about now. Wait for it. Years ago, Barry Allen saw a living bolt of lightning running through his house. Before he could actually do anything about it, he was run away to a far-off location. By the time he came back, his mother was murdered by the aforementioned bolt of lightning, and his father was set up for the crime. In the years that followed, he was adopted by Joe West and ended up getting to live with his longtime crush Iris West. Many years later, Barry Allen joins the Criminalist Division of the Central City Police Department, gathering evidence on his mother's murder in an attempt to be able to free his father from the crime that he did not commit. Unfortunately, nobody believes him in the story about a living bolt of lightning killing his mother. During this time, Barry gets the chance to go to Starling City and help one of his idols, the Arrow, in one of his cases, and is the one responsible for giving Oliver Queen his Green Arrow-style mask. On returning to Central City, Barry is caught in the wake of the explosion of the particle accelerator being built by Star Labs in the center of Central City. The wake of this explosion changes a great many people, but Barry especially, as he is hit by a bolt of lightning. Sent to hospital because everybody thought that he was dying, he is saved thanks to the help of Harrison Wells and the two members of his team that stayed behind at Star Labs after the debacle of the explosion, Dr. Caitlin Snow and Dr. Siska Ramone. Harrison is able to help save Barry, and once he wakes up from his coma, he starts to discover that things have actually changed in his body. More so than that his longtime crush Iris West is now actually dating Eddie Thorne, who is the partner to her father, Joe West. As Barry has trouble controlling his speed and his new powers, he goes back to Harrison Wells and Star Labs, and they help train him, directly and indirectly influencing him into becoming the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash. Over the many adventures that he ends up having, Harrison Wells is helping to shape him to learn more about how to control his speed force, with Cisco and Caitlin helping out in the process, dealing with other people known as metahumans that were created in the wake of the particle accelerator explosion. Notable examples include Robbie Raymond, who is the fiancé of Caitlin Snow, thought dead from the explosion but has in fact been merged with Professor Martin Stein to create a being known as Firestorm. With Barry's help and the help of Star Labs, he is able to control his condition and able to actually be reunited with his long-lost fiancée. As well as the many metahumans that are being faced, such as the Weather Wizard brothers, there are also people trying to up their game using technology to be able to keep up with the insurgence of new powers that are turning up, including the incredibly charismatic Leonard Snart, otherwise known as Cold. Cold teams up with a man known as Heatwave, and the two of them get along so well they might as well be brothers. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Frequently coming up over their time looking into the metahumans, we end up learning more and more clues about the bolt of lightning that killed Barry's mother. It turns out that there is more than one speedster, this one cloaked in yellow, known as the Reverse Flash. As the title would indicate, he is the opposite of the Flash. He has all of the same powers, but he is cruel and he is malevolent and he has the creepiest bloody voice that you can imagine.
Oh, I'm not like the Flash at all. Some would say I'm the reverse.
Over time, we as the viewer come to learn that Harrison Wells is in fact the Reverse Flash and that he is helping Barry to learn his powers for his own gain. During an event that actually reversed the timeline ever so briefly, Siska Ramone is left with nightmares of the previous timeline itself, where Harrison Wells, once discovered, murdered him. This ends up leading the team to actually start following clues and find out exactly who Harrison Wells is. While uncovering his many secrets, we discover that he is in fact Eobard Thawne, a speedster from the future who hated the Flash, and that he came back in time to kill Barry himself. Because of the fact that the Flash actually saved his prior self, the Reverse Flash instead took his anger out on Barry's mother, thus changing the timeline. A change that meant that there was no longer a connection to the Speed Force, and Eobard Thawne was stranded in time. To be able to get back to his future, Thawne kills Harrison Wells, the man who created the particle accelerator that gave Barry his powers, so then he can actually create the events that create the Flash several years ahead of time instead. The ripple effects of all of his different decisions has created a whole new timeline, and in the process, as posing as Harrison Wells, he has grown quite fond of Barry and of Cisco and Caitlin Snow, who he has come to think of as family, but still would not hesitate to kill any of them if it gets in the way of his ultimate goal. Since the beginning, you have the team of Joe and Barry working with Star Labs. Joe, being aware of Barry's identity from the beginning, eventually brings in Eddie Thawne to be able to help out on all of the many meta-human crimes. And as soon as Eddie Thawne is captured by the Reverse Flash, Iris West is able to work it out as well.
We're family, Eddie.
Working together, they're able to take down Harrison Wells with a little bit of help from the likes of the Arrow and Firestorm, and they're able to rescue Eddie despite the fact that Eddie is now completely broken, hearing that the woman that he loves, Iris West, was destined to marry Barry in the original timeline. Finding his inner strength, Eddie decides that he's going to completely screw the future to be able to be with the woman that he loves, and everybody cheers for this. And Barry finally gets the chance to talk to his mother's killer to try and find a way to change the timeline and release his father from prison. The cost of this includes Eobard Thawne being allowed to use the particle accelerator to go back to his original timeline once everything has actually been reset. Barry takes the chance to run backwards in time using the particle accelerator mixed with his speed force, but once he gets there he realizes the ramifications of his actions, so instead takes the opportunity just to say goodbye to his mother, and everybody watching the TV decides to cry. Now knowing there's no way of being able to change the past, Barry comes back with a vengeance, assaulting the Reverse Flash for everything that he's actually done to mess about with his life. In his anger, he has very little control, and Eobard Thawne, now incredibly upset over the fact that he can no longer go back to his present timeline, takes it out on Barry with everything that he's got. Knowing that he is the ancestor of Eobard Thawne, Eddie takes the most drastic action to stop the fight, and everyone screams at the television screen. Due to all of these events and scrubbing Eobard Thawne from the timeline, there is a singularity created over Central City. Eddie's body is sucked into it, and most of the city is going to follow unless Barry can do something. And what follows is the most epic final moments of a TV series you will ever see, and we have been waiting months to see it resolved. Now that you're all caught up, you can see my ideas about who Zoom is going to be, but in the meantime, Jana Mina-san or something.